then one day it snapped, and it started, and I ended up with 5.5 hours on radio, the number one DJ show in Los Angeles, and I had the first simulcast television show. That was in 48. The name of the show the first one was Adam's Alley. That was a show, that was named after a record recorded for me, and I used as a theme on my DJ show by Illinois Jacquet, Adam's Alley. And we named the show that, and it was a variety show. And that ran for 26 weeks.
This is a local broadcast?
This was a local broadcast.
And a station, what was the name of the station?
It was KLAC-TV. You have to remember this was the very early years of television when you had the little 10-inch screen and some people put a magnifying glass over it. And then about 2 years later, I had another show called Joe Adams Presents, which I conducted Joe Wilson's 17-piece orchestra, and that show would feature an honored guest each week. Like one week I'd have Stan Kenton, and he would be playing piano, but with his arrangements, or orchestra would be playing his arrangements. Nat King Cole, the orchestra playing his arrangements. Louis Jordan and the Timpani Five playing his arrangements. Now I did that show. In fact, I did the first simulcast. I was doing the show, the television show. It was being broadcast on K-Day. It was being televised on KTTV, which was half the Los Angeles Times and half CBS.
Oh.
And I was doing it live from the stage of the Paramount Theater, where all the top vaudeville shows came in and the top bands appeared.
Fantastic.
So it was quite a feat. Everybody said it couldn't be done, but we did it. It won raves for it. So.
And were you able to attract many sponsors because your show was growing?
The show went well.
Both shows.
And I had sponsors from my radio show, but I suffered the same fate as Nat King Cole.
In the South?
No, right here. It was
right
a local
here.
show.
Oh, so it didn't go out anywhere else?
But we suffered the same fate because they said that we couldn't attract non-Negro audiences.
Yes.
Which was proven wrong by the ratings. That was one of the reasons that I severed relationship with NBC for about 9 or 10 years. I was carrying their live shows at nighttime. I was on the air in the daytime, independent, but I was going coast to coast at night with shows on the full network, whoever it may be, Stan Kenton or Tommy Dorsey, Jimmy Dorsey, Les Brown, Duke Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald.
All those great names.
I was supposed to be doing the shows from the 8 western states for the jazz. I would do them sometime from Birdland. I don't know how that got to be one of the 8 western states, but we did it. And then one day they came to me and said they were going to have to discontinue because the network was going full television and they were going to discontinue the network radio.
But did this make you the first African American who was a DJ in radio?
I started in 1939 as a kid, but I wasn't doing records. I was broadcasting churches.
I see. So, will you talk about that? This was prior to Al Jarvis appearing in your life.
Yes.
Okay. Will you talk about I understand that is called remote broadcasting.
That's exactly right.
Will you talk about that period?
Well, I was just doing remotes from, the largest Afro-American church, and it's come to think of it, at that time, it was African-American.
Yes.
And then it went away and came back.
Yes.
Reverend N.P. Greggs, that had an enrollment of about 8,000 members, a membership. And I was doing a broadcast from there. Actually, it was the same thing. I was sitting there learning from a gentleman by the name of War Perkins, who got the broadcast and who was doing it. And War found out that I was doing it pretty good, so he quit coming, and he would just come and collect the money, and I was doing the shows. But I got a tremendous amount of experience from that.
And a huge audience.
Yes.
My
and
goodness.
that was really where I started.
Did you go, in terms of remote broadcasting, did you ever go into any clubs as well?
Oh, yes, because I carried clubs for about 6 years because they wouldn't let me in the radio stations. But I could do broadcast from their stations. I carried, this was before NBC, this was on independent stations.
Yes.
That I carried people like Louis and of course the local names, and like Nat Cole, people that were just starting out.
And radio helped to push their music.
So I carried like about 5 clubs a week, local nightclubs during the war. And then on Sundays I would switch over and do religious programming.